Hi dear, welcome to your favorite audiobook channel Wisdom Flicks. Introduction: The Power in Stillness. Imagine this. You're standing in a crowded room. Voices are rising, tensions escalating. Everyone's speaking, no one's listening. Emotions swirl through the air like a storm, but there you are, calm, grounded, still. You're not detached or numb, you're simply in control. This right here is the power of not reacting. We live in a fast, noisy world that rewards speed over thought and reaction over reflection. From social media skirmishes to workplace stress, from personal disagreements to daily irritations, life constantly tempts us to react instantly, emotionally, often recklessly. Someone cuts you off in traffic, your jaw tightens, your blood boils. A loved one criticizes you unfairly. You snap back without thinking. An email arrives with bad news. Panic sets in before you've even finished reading. These moments feel small, but they shape the quality of your day, your relationships, your decisions, and over time, your entire life. Here's the truth. Reacting is easy. Not reacting is powerful. To pause when provoked, to breathe when you're boiling inside, to think before you speak, to choose peace over proving a point. This isn't weakness, it's mastery. Why stillness matters. Stillness doesn't mean inaction. It means choosing your response instead of being enslaved by your emotions. It's about developing emotional agency, the ability to pause, reflect, and act in alignment with your values instead of your impulses. When you practice stillness, you give yourself time to let your logical mind catch up to your emotional one. Avoid unnecessary conflict. Preserve your energy. See the situation with clarity. Make better choices that serve your long-term well-being. Stillness allows you to respond from your center, not your chaos. Think of it this way. When the surface of a lake is agitated, you can't see clearly beneath it. But when it's calm, everything becomes visible. The same is true with your mind and emotions. When you stop reacting, you start seeing. Reactivity is not your fault, but it is your responsibility. Here's something important. You're not to blame for having emotional reactions. You were wired that way. Your brain is designed for survival. When you feel threatened, emotionally or physically, it triggers your fight, flight, or freeze response. That's your brain doing its job. The problem is, in today's world, most threats aren't life or death. They're subtle, emotional, psychological, like a disrespectful comment, a late reply, or an unkind look. Your brain still reacts as if you're in danger. And unless you've learned how to manage it, you respond as if you're under attack. This is where emotional mastery begins. Realizing that while you may not be responsible for your first reaction, you are absolutely responsible for your second one. And the second reaction is where your power lives. The power. You didn't know you. Had most people believe that being powerful means being louder, faster, more aggressive, but the most influential people are often the calmest. They speak less, listen more. They carry an energy of presence and control that others gravitate toward. Why? Because calmness is rare, and what is rare is valuable. When you walk through life unshaken, not cold but centered, you become a stabilizing force. Others begin to trust you more. Your relationships deepen. Your decisions become sharper. Your mind becomes clearer. You become the calm in the storm. What this book will teach you. This book is your guide to mastering emotional stillness. Through science, stories, techniques, and reflection, you'll learn how to understand your emotional triggers, break the cycle of overreacting, create space between stimulus and response, develop mindful inner dialogue, handle conflict without losing your cool, set emotional boundaries, build unshakable peace from within. You'll discover that emotional control isn't about denying your feelings, it's about channeling them constructively. You won't become a robot. You'll become emotionally intelligent, resilient, and gracefully powerful. Each chapter will offer you practical tools to implement immediately, habits and mindset shifts you can apply in conversations, conflicts, moments of stress, and everyday life. By the end of this journey, you'll walk through life with more calm, more clarity, and more confidence than ever before. Your new superpower, choosing not to react, doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful. It allows you to rise above the noise, to stand rooted in your truth, and to act with intention instead of impulse. It helps you gain respect without ever raising your voice. It empowers you to lead with emotional maturity instead of emotional chaos. In a reactive world, the ability to remain calm is a rare superpower. And the best part? It's one you already possess, just waiting to be unlocked. So take a deep breath. You're about to learn how to reclaim your emotional power, find your inner stillness, and discover the life-changing strength of not reacting. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why we react. Before we can learn the art of not reacting, we must first understand why we react in the first place. Reactions aren't random. They follow a pattern deeply embedded in our biology, our upbringing, and our everyday experiences. 2. Master your emotions. You must begin by peeling back the layers of your internal world. What's driving your responses? What's beneath the surface of your anger, your frustration, your anxiety? The answer lies in 3 powerful forces: your brain, your past, and your beliefs. The brain's design: survival. First, thinking later. Let's start with biology. At the center of your brain is a small, almond-shaped structure called the amygdala. This part of your brain is responsible for detecting threats and triggering emotional responses. When you feel anger, fear, or panic, it's often the amygdala firing first. Think of it as your built-in alarm system. Back in prehistoric times, this system was a lifesaver. If a saber-toothed tiger jumped out of the bushes, you didn't have time to analyze it. You had to act fast, fight, flee, or freeze. Reacting instantly meant survival. But here's the problem. Your brain hasn't evolved as fast as your environment. Today, the tigers we face are mostly psychological: a harsh comment, a partner's silence, a snide remark at work, a long pause after a text message. These aren't life-threatening, but your brain can't always tell the difference. The same system designed to keep you alive is now overreacting to everyday stressors. This is what scientists call amygdala hijack. When the emotional brain overrides the logical brain, you say things you regret. You slam the door. You shut down or lash out. Not because you're weak, but because your brain is trying to protect you in the only way it knows how. And this is where awareness begins. You can't turn off your emotional brain, but you can learn to pause, breathe, and let your thinking brain catch up. That pause is the doorway to power. The emotional baggage we carry. Our reactions aren't only shaped by our biology, they're also shaped by our past. Think of your life as a series of emotional imprints. Every experience, especially the painful or intense ones, leaves a mark. When someone criticizes you today, it may sting, but the intensity of your reaction could stem from something much older. A parent who made you feel like you were never good enough. A teacher who embarrassed you in front of others. A breakup that shattered your self-worth. A betrayal that left you questioning everyone's intentions. These emotional wounds, often unconscious, become triggers. A trigger isn't about what's happening now. It's about what's been left unresolved. When someone touches that wound, even unintentionally, your reaction is louder, sharper, more emotional than the moment seems to warrant. You're not reacting to the situation. You're reacting to the story behind it. Learning to not react means learning to heal, to recognize your triggers and work through them rather than being controlled by them. Self-awareness is the key. When you feel a strong emotional response rising, ask yourself, what does this remind me of? Is this reaction about now or about then? Am I reacting or reliving? The more you examine the roots of your emotions, the less power they hold over you. 3. The beliefs that control our behavior. Next, let's talk about beliefs, the invisible scripts that run our minds. We all carry certain beliefs about ourselves, others, and the world. These beliefs act like filters. shaping how we interpret situations and how we react to them. For example, if you believe people are always trying to hurt me, you'll react defensively, even to harmless comments. If you believe I must be perfect to be loved, you'll spiral when someone points out a flaw. If you believe showing emotion is weakness, you'll suppress your feelings until they explode. Beliefs are often formed early in life, reinforced by experience, and rarely questioned, but they're not always true. In fact, many of the beliefs that fuel your reactions are outdated or unhelpful. The good news? Beliefs can be rewritten. By bringing them to the surface, by questioning, reflecting, and reframing, you can change the way you see the world. And when you change the way you see, you change the way you respond. Here's a powerful truth. What you believe shapes what you feel, and what you feel drives how you react. To gain emotional control, you must become the author of your beliefs, not just the reader. The need for control and certainty. Another reason we react so strongly is because of a deep, often unspoken need: control. When things feel uncertain, unpredictable, or chaotic, our brains crave a sense of order. We want to feel in control of our environment, of others, of outcomes. When that control slips, we react out of fear or frustration. You might notice this in everyday life. You feel anxious when someone doesn't reply quickly. You get angry when plans change unexpectedly. You feel insecure when someone doesn't validate you the way you hoped. These reactions are often signs that your sense of control is being challenged. But here's the paradox. The more you try to control what's outside of you, the more out of control you'll feel. True power lies in shifting your focus inward, learning to control your thoughts, your breath, your actions, and your attention. That's where peace lives. Reaction versus response. The key difference. Let's pause and clarify something essential. Reacting is automatic. It's impulsive. It's driven by emotion and rooted in the past. It happens to you. Responding is intentional. It's thoughtful. It comes from awareness and clarity. It happens through you. The space between a trigger and your response is small, but in that space lies your greatest freedom. As Viktor Frankl, Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, once said, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Every time you choose to respond instead of react, you reclaim a piece of your power, the first step toward mastery. So now you know, you react, because you were wired to, trained to, and conditioned to. But that doesn't mean you're doomed to keep doing it. The first step to mastering your emotions is awareness, to recognize when you're triggered, what you're feeling, and why. From there, you can begin to pause, to reflect, to choose a better way. This isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally intelligent. It's about stepping off the emotional roller coaster and learning to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. Remember this: you are not your emotions. You are the awareness behind them. And that awareness is where all your strength begins. In the next chapter, we'll explore what it truly means to pause before you respond, and how that tiny pause can transform your relationships, your career, and your inner peace. Let's continue this journey together. Chapter 2: The Price of Emotional Reactivity. We've all been there. You say something in the heat of the moment and immediately wish you could take it back. You snap at someone you love over something small. You make a rash decision you later regret. You feel hijacked by your own emotions. Reacting emotionally is part of being human. But over time, unchecked reactivity comes with a cost. A cost to your peace, your relationships, your health, and even your success. This chapter explores the hidden price of emotional reactivity, and why mastering your response isn't just a matter of self-control, but one of self-preservation. Emotional reactivity sabotages relationships. Let's begin with the most visible consequence: damage to relationships. Whether it's with a partner, friend, colleague, or family member, constant emotional reactions create instability. One outburst can undo weeks of trust. A defensive tone can shut down open communication. A sarcastic jab can leave a lasting scar. Emotional reactivity sends a message, even if you don't intend it. I'm not safe to talk to when I'm upset. You must walk on eggshells around me. My emotions come before your feelings. When you frequently react instead of respond, others start to pull away. Not because they don't care, but because it's exhausting. It feels unsafe. Over time, people stop sharing. They stop opening up. Connection erodes, one reactive moment at a time. And here's the truth. Most people don't remember what you said when you were angry, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. If you want to build lasting, healthy, supportive relationships, emotional control isn't optional, it's foundational. Emotional reactivity weakens self-trust. It's not just others who are affected. You pay a price too. Every time you lose control of your emotions, a subtle message gets reinforced. I can't trust myself in the moment, and that's a heavy burden to carry. When you don't trust yourself to stay calm, to speak with clarity, to navigate challenges without blowing up or shutting down, you begin to live on edge. You avoid difficult conversations. You question your ability to lead. You tiptoe through life, fearing your own reactions. This erodes self-confidence, which is the quiet foundation of every successful person. Confidence isn't about knowing all the answers. It's about knowing that you can stay steady when things go sideways. Without emotional discipline, self-doubt becomes louder than your inner wisdom, and that inner battle slowly drains your energy and joy. Reactivity triggers regret and guilt. Reacting in the moment might feel satisfying for a second, but the aftermath, that's where the price is paid. Words once spoken can't be unsaid. Actions taken impulsively can't always be undone. Bridges burned aren't so easily rebuilt. And what follows is a familiar chain reaction. Regret, guilt, shame. You replay what happened. You wish you'd stayed calm. You wonder why you can't seem to manage it better. This emotional residue lingers, clouding your mind, weighing on your heart. But here's the deeper truth. You don't need to feel guilty for being emotional. You need to learn how to guide those emotions instead of being guided by them. By learning to pause before reacting, you reduce regret. You reduce guilt. You give yourself the gift of inner peace. Reactivity drains mental and physical energy. Every emotional outburst is a surge of energy, physically and mentally. Your heart rate spikes. Your breath shortens. Muscles tense. Cortisol floods your system. Your body enters a fight or flight state even if there's no real danger. And it's exhausting. You might not notice it in the moment, but emotional reactivity takes a toll on your nervous system. Over time, chronic stress from frequent outbursts can lead to insomnia, headaches, high blood pressure, digestive issues. Weakened immunity, your mind suffers too. After emotionally intense moments, it's harder to focus. Your creativity dips. Productivity falls. You feel scattered, drained, even disoriented. When you learn to stay calm, you don't just save relationships, you protect your energy. You stay centered, you perform better, you think clearly, you feel lighter. Reactivity clouds judgment and decision-making. Have you ever made a big decision while you were angry, anxious, or overwhelmed? Chances are, it didn't end well. Emotions are powerful, but they're not always accurate. They reflect what you're feeling, not necessarily what's true. When you're reactive, you're not thinking long-term. You're not weighing options. You're not acting from wisdom. You're reacting from pain or fear. Reactivity often leads to saying yes when you mean no, quitting when you should persevere, blaming others instead of reflecting, making snap decisions you later regret. One of the greatest strengths you can develop is the ability to pause in the moment and choose from clarity, not chaos. Your future depends on it. Reactivity keeps you stuck in the past. Every time you react emotionally without awareness, you're likely being pulled by a pattern. It could be a pattern of abandonment, of needing to be right, of fearing rejection, or proving your worth. These patterns are rooted in your past, but they keep replaying in your present. If you don't learn to respond with intention, you'll keep reliving the same cycles with different people and situations. You'll find yourself thinking, why does this keep happening to me? Why do I always end up here? Why can't I break free from this pattern? The answer lies in your emotional responses. If you want to write a new chapter in your life, you have to stop repeating the old one. That begins by responding differently than you have in the past. That begins by choosing calm over chaos. The emotional wake you leave behind, imagine your emotions as a boat. Every time you react impulsively, you leave a wake behind you, a ripple effect that touches everyone in your path. That wake might look like a coworker who now walks on eggshells, a child who mirrors your outbursts as normal, a partner who feels emotionally distant, a team that doesn't feel psychologically safe. The wake of your reactivity often extends far beyond what you see. People may forgive, but they don't always forget. And repeated reactivity can become your reputation. But here's the beautiful flip side. When you begin responding with calm presence, your emotional wake becomes a healing force. You create safe spaces. You become a grounding presence. People start to trust you, open up to you, respect you, not because you're perfect, but because you're steady. Emotional reactivity is expensive, and you can't afford it. The cost of emotional reactivity is high. Damaged relationships, lost trust. Chronic stress, missed opportunities, regret, guilt, and shame. Repeating old patterns. But here's the empowering truth. You don't have to keep paying this price. Emotional mastery isn't about becoming a robot or bottling everything up. It's about staying conscious in moments when it's easiest to be unconscious. It's about reclaiming your power from your impulses. Each time you choose not to react, you're not just avoiding harm. You're building a better life. A life built on awareness, on grace, on strength that isn't loud but unshakable. Chapter 3. Emotional awareness. The first step to control. Imagine trying to drive a car without knowing which direction it's heading, or trying to fix a leaking pipe without knowing where the leak is, or trying to calm a storm without first knowing it's coming. This is exactly what it's like to manage emotions without emotional awareness. Emotional awareness is the art of noticing, naming, and understanding what you're feeling before it controls your behavior. It is the first step, the foundation, the entry point into emotional control. Because here's the truth, you cannot control what you are not aware of. And the more aware you are of your emotions, the more power you have to work with them instead of being swept away by them. What is emotional awareness? Emotional awareness means paying attention to what's happening inside you, not just physically, but emotionally. It's the ability to notice when you're feeling something, accurately name what you're feeling, understand why you're feeling. It recognizes how it influences your thoughts and actions. Most people feel something but never pause long enough to understand it. They might say, "I'm angry," when in reality, they're disappointed. Or say, "I don't care," when they're actually deeply hurt. When we mislabel or ignore our emotions, they don't disappear. They go underground, they fester, they drive our behavior from the shadows, but when we bring them into the light, they lose their power over us. Why? Emotional awareness is the foundation. Think of emotional awareness as the flashlight in a dark room. It doesn't change what's in the room, but it helps you see clearly. And when you see clearly, you can choose your next move wisely. Without emotional awareness, you're reacting blindly. You're driven by invisible forces, past wounds, fears, or beliefs. But with awareness, you create a pause, a space between feeling and action. That space is where growth lives. That space is where change begins. That space is where you become who you truly are, rather than who your emotions tell you to be. The cost of being emotionally unaware. Let's be honest. Many people go through life with little emotional insight. They feel anger but don't know it's covering sadness, They feel anxiety but don't realize it stems from a need for control. They feel numbness but don't understand it's protecting them from pain. Here's what emotional unawareness leads to: overreactions to small issues, avoidance of honest conversations, repeating toxic patterns, strained relationships and miscommunication, a constant feeling of being overwhelmed or out of control. It's like walking through life blindfolded, bumping into the same obstacles, wondering why you keep getting hurt. But once you become emotionally aware, life starts to feel more manageable. Not easier, but more understandable. And that's where your power begins. How to develop emotional awareness. How do you build emotional awareness? Let's break it into simple, practical steps. Step 1. Pause and breathe when something triggers you. Stop. Don't act. Don't speak. Don't rush. Just pause. Take a breath. This is your window. This is where you interrupt the automatic reaction. The breath is your bridge between your feeling and your wisdom. Ask yourself, what am I feeling right now? Where do I feel it in my body? Step 2. Name the emotion accurately. Get specific. Don't just say, I feel bad. That's vague. Try to identify the exact emotion. Are you frustrated, embarrassed, ashamed, lonely, disappointed? The more precise your emotional vocabulary, the more control you gain. Step 3. Trace it to the trigger. Once you name it, ask yourself, why am I feeling this? What triggered this emotion? Is this about now or something deeper from my past? This step builds self-understanding. It helps you separate the moment from the story you're telling yourself. Step 4. Allow the emotion. Without judgment, many of us were taught that emotions are bad or weak, but emotions are just messengers. They aren't wrong, they're signals. Don't suppress what you feel. Don't shame yourself for it. Just notice it. Sit with it. Allow it to rise and fall. By doing so, you take away its power to control you. Step 5. Ask yourself what you need. Emotions often point to unmet needs. Anger may reveal a need for boundaries. Sadness may signal a need for comfort. Anxiety may be asking for clarity or safety. Instead of reacting, ask, what do I need right now to feel balanced? This shifts you from reactivity to intentionality. Emotional awareness is a daily practice. You won't master emotional awareness overnight. It's a daily practice, like brushing your mental teeth. The more often you check in with yourself, the stronger your inner radar becomes. You start catching emotions in real time instead of after the damage is done. Try this. Morning check-in. Ask yourself, how am I feeling today? Midday pause. Take a breath. Scan your body. Notice your mood. Evening reflection. Replay your day. Were there moments you reacted? What could you learn from them? This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. Each small moment of awareness builds your emotional intelligence like a muscle. With time, that muscle becomes strength, and strength becomes mastery. The gifts of emotional awareness. When you cultivate emotional awareness, everything shifts. You communicate more clearly because you know what you feel. You respond with wisdom, not reflex. You navigate conflict calmly, not defensively. You build trust with others and within yourself. And most of all, you become deeply connected to yourself. You stop running from your feelings. You stop fearing them. Instead, you listen, you learn, and you lead yourself forward. That's what self-control is really about. Not suppression, but connection. Not reacting, but responding. Not fear, but presence. In closing, awareness precedes mastery before. You can choose how to act. You must first know how you feel. Emotional awareness is not a soft skill. It's a life skill, a leadership skill, a relationship skill, a success skill. Without it, you're navigating in the dark. With it, you become the calm in the storm, the clarity in the chaos, and the quiet strength in the noise of the world. The next chapter will explore how to take this awareness even further by learning how to pause in the heat of the moment and shift from reaction to response. Because that pause, that single breath, can change everything. Chapter 4. The pause that saves you. Picture this: you're in the middle of a heated argument. Someone says something that cuts deep. Your heart rate spikes. Your chest tightens. Your fists clench. 1,000 words rush to your lips. Sharp, fast, and full of fury. And then you pause. Just for a moment, you take a breath. You feel, you think, you wait. And in that pause, you choose not to lash out, not to storm off, not to escalate. You choose clarity over chaos, wisdom over impulse, peace over regret. That pause, that tiny moment, is where your power lives. It's not just a mental technique, it's a life-saving habit. What is the pause? The pause is the space between stimulus and response. It's the moment between something happening to you and how you decide to respond. It might last 2 seconds, it might last 20. But in that brief silence, you reclaim control. You say to yourself, I see the emotion rising, but I won't be ruled by it. You let the surge pass before you act. And most importantly, you respond with intention, not instinct. In a world that encourages instant reactions, the pause is a radical act of self-mastery. Why the pause matters. So much when we don't pause, we do things we later regret. We send the angry text, we slam the door, we shut people out. We yell, accuse, blame, or withdraw. We hand over the keys to our emotions and let them drive us straight into conflict, damage, or shame. But the pause is the moment we pull back the reins. It gives our thinking brain time to catch up with our feeling brain. It's in that gap that we get to think before reacting, consider the consequences, reflect on our values. Ask ourselves, is this who I want to be? This isn't weakness. This is strength in its highest form. It's the strength to rise above the moment, so the moment doesn't define you. The neuroscience of the pause. Let's take a quick dive into the brain. When we're triggered emotionally, our amygdala, our brain's alarm system, activates. It's designed to protect us by sending us into fight, flight, or freeze. But this ancient response doesn't differentiate between a real threat and a rude comment. To access reason and perspective, we need our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logical thinking and decision-making. Here's the problem. When we react too quickly, we bypass this wise part of the brain. But when we pause, even for just a breath, we allow our prefrontal cortex to come online. We give ourselves a chance to respond consciously rather than react emotionally. One deep breath can shift the entire chemistry of the moment. It's not just psychological, it's physiological power. How to practice the pause. Like any skill, pausing takes practice, especially when emotions run high. Here's a simple step-by-step process to build this life-saving habit. Step 1. Catch the trigger. Pay attention to the moments when emotions rise suddenly. When your heart races, your voice tightens, or your mind spirals. Triggers can be words, looks, tones, or even thoughts. The moment you notice, label it. I'm triggered right now. Something's rising in me. This is my moment to pause. Awareness is your early warning system. Step 2. Breathe deeply. Take one slow, intentional breath. Inhale through your nose. Exhale slowly through your mouth. If needed, take another. This slows your heart rate, calms your nervous system, and creates space. Step 3. Feel without acting. Let the emotion exist. You don't need to suppress it, but you also don't need to obey it. Tell yourself, this feeling is real, but it doesn't own me. I can feel without reacting. You are the container for the emotion, not the emotion itself. Step 4. Ask yourself grounding questions. While you're in the pause, ask yourself, what am I really feeling? What outcome do I want here? Will reacting help or hurt? What would the wisest version of me do now? These questions guide you back to your values and vision. Step 5. Respond. With intention, only once you've settled, then choose your next move. Maybe you speak gently. Maybe you say nothing. Maybe you walk away. Maybe you return to the conversation later with clarity. Whatever you do, you own it. Because it came from a place of calm, not chaos. Practicing the pause in real life. Let's walk through some everyday situations where the pause can be a game changer. Example 1. A heated argument. Someone says something that triggers you. Reaction. Yelling back. Pause. Breathe. Feel the anger rise, then ask yourself, what's more important, winning this fight or protecting this relationship? Example 2. Negative feedback at work. Your boss criticizes you unexpectedly. Reaction. Defensiveness or shutting down. Pause. Take a breath. Remind yourself, this isn't personal. What can I learn here? Example 3. Social media outrage. You read a comment that feels offensive. Reaction. Instant reply, maybe even disrespect. Pause. Step away. Ask, is this worth my energy? Or is silence the real power here? Example 4. Parenting. Stress your child misbehaves after a long day. Reaction. Raising your voice. Pause. Breathe. Remember, I'm here to teach, not to punish. What do they need right now? 6. The pause builds emotional muscle. The more you practice the pause, the stronger your emotional control becomes. Over time, you'll find you react less often, you regret less often, you think more clearly, you become a person of presence and peace. You don't have to become emotionless. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to create that gap, that tiny sacred space between feeling and doing, because in that gap lies your true power. In the pause, you meet your best self. The pause is not empty, it's full. It's full of awareness, full of breath, full of choice, full of strength. It's where you meet the version of yourself that doesn't yell, panic, or break. It's where you meet the version that listens, reflects, and rises. And in that space, you realize you are not a victim of your emotions. You are their master. In closing, the most powerful second of your life, when people say, take a deep breath, they're not minimizing your pain. They're offering you a tool, a lifeline. That single breath, that one pause, could be the second that saves your relationship, your reputation, your peace of mind. So next time emotion storms in, don't react. Pause, breathe, feel, choose. Because that second, that silent second, is the second that saves you. Chapter 5. Mastering the Art of the Inner Dialogue. There's a voice inside your head. You hear it all the time. It whispers when you're uncertain. It speaks up when you make a mistake. It shouts when emotions run high. Sometimes it's gentle and encouraging. Other times it's harsh and unforgiving. This voice, your inner dialogue, can be your greatest ally or your worst enemy. Mastering it isn't about silencing it. It's about transforming it into a source of strength, clarity, and self-control. Because the truth is this: how you speak to yourself determines how you experience the world. What is the inner dialogue? The inner dialogue is the ongoing stream of thoughts, beliefs, and commentary running through your mind. It narrates your experiences, judges your actions, interprets other people's behavior, and predicts outcomes. It says things like, I knew I'd mess this up. She's probably mad at me. I can't believe I said that. They always treat me like this. I'm such an idiot. But it also has the potential to say, I've got this. This is tough, but I'll get through it. Let me slow down and think. That didn't go well, but I can fix it. I choose peace over panic. The voice you hear most often becomes the reality you live in. Why inner dialogue shapes emotional control. When emotions rise, especially anger, frustration, anxiety, or fear, your inner voice becomes your first responder. It either escalates the emotion, "This is outrageous, they disrespected me, you have to show them," or it de-escalates it. "Take a breath. Let's not make this worse, you're okay." In moments of emotional intensity, your self-talk becomes your internal guide. If that guide is wise, calm, and compassionate, you're more likely to respond with poise. If it's reactive, negative, or judgmental, your actions will follow that path. This is why mastering your inner dialogue is not a luxury. It's a necessity for emotional control. The origins of your inner voice: you weren't born with self-talk. You learned it from parents, teachers, friends, society, and experiences. You absorbed the way others spoke to you, and eventually you began speaking to yourself the same way. Were you criticized often? Your inner voice might be harsh. Were you praised for perfection? Your self-talk might be anxious. Were you comforted during mistakes? Your inner dialogue might now be kind and resilient. Knowing where your voice came from gives you the power to reshape it, because no matter how it started, you can rewrite the script. Common patterns of harmful inner dialogue. To master your self-talk, you first need to recognize the patterns that sabotage you. Here are 4 common toxic thought loops. Catastrophizing: you expect the worst possible outcome. "If I mess this up, everyone will think I'm a failure." Or personalizing: you believe everything is about you. "He didn't text back, I must have said something wrong." Labeling: you assign negative identities to yourself. "I'm lazy, I'm stupid, I'm a mess." All or nothing thinking: you view situations in extremes. "If I'm not perfect, I'm a failure." These patterns don't reflect truth. They reflect fear, insecurity, and old emotional wounds. Recognizing them is the first step toward breaking their grip. How to rewire your inner dialogue: you can't stop your thoughts from appearing, but you can challenge, reframe, and upgrade them. Here's how. Step 1. Notice your voice. Throughout the day, check in with yourself. Ask, what am I saying to myself right now? Would I say this to a friend I care about? This alone can stop many damaging thought spirals in their tracks. Step 2. Challenge the thought. Don't believe everything you think. Ask, is this really true? Is there another way to look at this? What evidence do I have for this belief? Example. Thought, I'm a failure. Challenge, I failed at something. That doesn't make me a failure. Step 3. Replace it with empowering language use. Words that calm, not inflame. Replace, this is a disaster. This is difficult, but I can handle it. I'm so stupid. I made a mistake and I'm learning. I can't do this. I'll figure it out step by step. Your brain listens to the language you use. Speak to yourself like someone you love. Creating a supportive mental environment. To maintain healthy inner dialogue, you need more than just positive thinking. You need to create an inner environment that supports it. Here are 3 ways to do that. Practice mindful reflection. Start or end your day with journaling. Write, what did I say to myself today? What would I like to say instead? This strengthens awareness and rewires thought patterns. Surround yourself with uplifting input. What you read, watch, and hear affects how you think. Fill your environment with calming podcasts, motivational books, supportive conversations, quiet moments of reflection. Your inner voice will mirror the outer world you engage with. Create personal mantras. Mantras are short, powerful phrases that ground you. Examples: I respond, I don't react. Peace is my power. My mind is my ally. Repeat them often, especially in tense moments. Inner dialogue in emotionally charged moments. Let's apply this in real-life scenarios. Scenario: you're cut off in traffic. Initial thought: what an idiot, I should speed up and block them. Reframe: it's not worth my peace. I arrive calmer when I stay calm. Scenario: you get harsh criticism at work. Initial thought: I must be terrible at this. Reframe. Feedback helps me grow. I'm always learning. Scenario. You're ignored in a social situation. Initial thought. They don't like me. I don't belong here. Reframe. Maybe they're distracted. I know my worth. These reframes don't deny reality. They redefine it through wisdom instead of emotion. The voice of a mastered mind. When your inner dialogue becomes balanced, grounded, and kind, you'll notice powerful changes. You recover faster from emotional upsets. You make decisions from clarity, not chaos. You become your own emotional anchor in any storm. Your self-talk becomes your internal coach, not your critic. Your mind becomes your safe place, not your battlefield. And you realize you don't have to fight your emotions. You just have to guide the voice that interprets them. In closing, speak to yourself like someone worth listening to. There will always be noise in the world, judgments, criticism, stress, uncertainty. But the loudest voice you'll ever hear is the one inside your own head. Make it strong, make it kind, make it wise. Because once you master your inner dialogue, you master your emotional world. And when you do that, nothing outside of you can control the peace within you. Chapter 6. Emotional Triggers. Your hidden teachers. There's a moment. A flash. Someone says something. You feel it. Tight in your chest. Hot in your face. Sharp in your thoughts. You're triggered. It happens fast. An emotional wave rises before logic can catch up. Maybe it's anger. Maybe shame. Maybe fear or deep hurt. And yet, here's the surprising truth. These moments, your emotional triggers, are not your enemies. They are your teachers. Painful? Yes. Uncomfortable? Always. But powerful? Absolutely. Emotional triggers reveal the wounds you've hidden, the beliefs you've buried, and the lessons you still need to learn. What is an emotional trigger? An emotional trigger is anything, an event, word, tone, memory, or gesture that sparks a strong emotional response in you, often out of proportion to the situation at hand. It feels like overreacting and not knowing why, spiraling into self-doubt or anger. Feeling attacked when no harm was intended. A wave of emotion that catches you off guard. The moment may seem small on the outside, but internally it sets off alarms that echo from the past. Triggers tap into unprocessed pain, deep-seated beliefs, and old emotional patterns that still linger beneath the surface. Why triggers feel so powerful? Imagine your mind like a landscape. On the surface, everything seems calm. But underneath there are old emotional mines, buried hurts, unhealed wounds, past rejections, disappointments, betrayals. When someone steps too close, boom, a trigger goes off. Here's why they feel intense. They bypass your logical brain. Triggers activate your amygdala, the brain's emotional alarm system, before your reasoning mind has a chance to respond. They feel personal. Triggers are tied to your identity, values, and history. They reflect unresolved stories. They point to emotional narratives you haven't yet rewritten. Understanding this gives you a powerful shift. The trigger isn't the problem. It's a signal. True. Common emotional triggers and what they reveal. Let's explore a few emotional triggers and what they might be trying to teach you. Being ignored, emotion, anger or sadness. Possible root, childhood neglect, feeling, invisible fear of insignificance, hidden message, I want to feel seen and valued. Being criticized, emotion, shame or defensiveness. Possible root, perfectionism, past ridicule, lack of emotional safety. Hidden message, I fear not being good enough. Being interrupted, emotion, frustration. Possible root, feeling unimportant, lack of respect in past relationships. Hidden message, my voice matters. For someone's success, emotion, jealousy or resentment. Possible root, scarcity mindset, unmet goals, self-doubt. Hidden message, I want to believe I'm capable too. Triggers vary by person, but they all share one thing in common. They shine a light on where healing is needed. Reacting versus reflecting. When you're triggered, you have two choices. React, you snap. You shut down, you lash out or retreat. You let the emotion take the wheel. Reflect, you pause, you turn inward. You get curious instead of furious. You ask, why is this bothering me so much? The pause allows you to shift from victim to student, from repetition to reflection, from reaction to growth. The three-part method to learn from your triggers. Let's turn triggers into tools with this simple framework. Step 1. Catch the trigger. Notice when your emotions spike. Ask, what just happened? What emotion am I feeling? Is this bigger than the situation? Awareness breaks the automatic pattern. Step 2. Trace the root. Look beneath the surface. Ask, what memory does this feeling remind me of? Have I felt this way before? What story am I telling myself right now? This reveals the origin, not just the symptom. Step 3. Reframe the story. Now choose a new perspective. Ask, is this emotion trying to protect me? What truth can I hold on to instead? What would a more empowered response look like? Reframing doesn't ignore the trigger, it integrates it. Triggers in relationships. The emotional mirror. Nowhere do triggers show up more than in relationships. Why? Because other people reflect parts of us we haven't fully accepted. A partner's silence may trigger abandonment wounds. A friend's success may trigger your insecurities. A parent's criticism may echo old shame. The key isn't to avoid people, it's to become aware of your internal reactions. Use relationships as mirrors, not battlegrounds. Instead of saying, you made me feel this way, ask, what is this feeling revealing about me? This shifts blame into insight and paves the way for deeper connection. Compassion, the catalyst for growth. The more compassion you show yourself during a trigger, the faster you grow from it. Because here's what's often true. That angry outburst, it came from pain. That defensiveness, it came from fear. That emotional shutdown, it came from feeling unsafe. You're not broken. You're responding with the tools you have, but now you're learning new ones. So when you feel a trigger rise, say gently, this hurts, but this is also a doorway. I can learn from this. Eat. Turning triggers into inner strength. Imagine what would change if, instead of avoiding discomfort, you embraced it as a teacher. Instead of fighting your emotions, you welcomed them with curiosity. Instead of judging yourself for being triggered, you used it to evolve. That's emotional maturity. That's emotional power, and it's already within you. An example, from triggered to transformed. Let's walk through a real-world example. Situation: your coworker interrupts you in a meeting. Trigger reaction: you feel dismissed. Your heart races. You want to snap back. Step back. You breathe and pause. Trace the root. You remember always being interrupted at home as a child. You always felt unheard. Reframe. You tell yourself, this moment doesn't define my worth. I will assert myself calmly. Result: you speak with clarity. You stay grounded. You respond, not from the past, but from the present. This is the power of emotional mastery in action. In closing, the lesson. Hidden in every trigger, emotional triggers are not signs that you're weak. They're signs that you're alive, aware, and ready to grow. They're the voice of your inner child asking to be heard. The signal that something sacred within you wants healing. The invitation to turn pain into presence and emotion into evolution. So, the next time a trigger rises, don't push it away. Pause, lean in, listen, because in that very moment, life is handing you a lesson. And you are ready to learn. Chapter 7. Letting go of the need to win. Every battle. We live in a world that often equates power with dominance, confidence with control, and success with winning. The louder you are, the more you must know. The more you push back, the stronger you must be. The more you win the argument, the better you must feel. But here's the truth most never learn. Not every battle is worth fighting. And not every win is truly a victory. In fact, one of the highest forms of emotional intelligence is knowing when not to fight. This chapter is about surrender, but not weakness. It's about choosing peace over pride. It's about stepping out of the ego's arena and into the sanctuary of self-control. The ego's obsession with winning. Why do we feel the need to win every disagreement? Because at its core, the ego is terrified of being wrong. It feeds on validation. It fears vulnerability. It confuses disagreement with disrespect, and often escalates minor misunderstandings into full-blown conflict. The ego whispers, "Don't back down. Show them who's right. If you let this go, they'll walk all over you." But here's what the ego doesn't understand. True strength doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be grounded. The cost of always needing to be right, trying to win every battle, comes at a high price, one that's often paid in peace, relationships, and emotional well-being. Here's what it can cost: emotional exhaustion. Constant arguing wears you down, drains your energy, and creates chronic stress. Damaged relationships. People don't remember what you argued about, they remember how you made them feel. Closed minds. When you're always trying to win, you stop listening and start defending. Lost time. Time spent proving your point could have been time spent understanding, connecting, or growing. Winning the battle and losing the connection. Is that really a victory? The freedom in letting go. Letting go of the need to win isn't about giving up. It's about choosing your battles wisely and refusing to let your peace be stolen by petty fights. Ask yourself, is this worth my energy? Will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? Am I arguing to grow or just to be right? Letting go doesn't make you weak, it makes you wise. Responding. Instead of reacting, when someone challenges you, disagrees with you, or even tries to provoke you, your reaction is everything. You have two options. React from ego, snap, defend, attack, shut down. Respond from presence, breathe, pause, ask, listen. Responding gives you space. Space to see beyond the words. Space to choose a response that aligns with your higher self, not your hurt self. Sometimes the strongest move you can make is silence. How to disengage without feeling defeated. Of the hardest parts of walking away from an argument is the fear of seeming weak or letting someone win. But the goal isn't victory, it's clarity. Here's how to disengage with grace. Use language that honors peace instead of saying, "Whatever. I'm done talking to you." Try, "I value this conversation, but I don't want to continue it in frustration. Let's revisit this when we both feel calm." Exit with self-respect. Walking away isn't running away, it's protecting your peace. Leave the conversation with a steady breath, not a slammed door. Accept that you can't change everyone. Sometimes the argument isn't worth it because the other person isn't ready to hear. And that's okay. You're not responsible for changing everyone. You're responsible for managing yourself. Choosing peace over power that's rooted in ego needs an audience. But peace? Peace stands quietly, unshaken. Choosing peace looks like walking away from toxic debates, refusing to respond to online arguments, letting go of the need to have the last word, listening even when you disagree, being secure enough to say, "I don't need to prove anything." There's a unique calm that comes with not needing to win. You don't owe everyone a reaction. You don't owe every argument your energy, and you don't need to prove your worth in every disagreement. Real strength is self-control. Let's redefine strength. Strength is staying calm when others shout, holding your tongue when you're tempted to strike back, choosing kindness when your pride is hurt, being okay with not being understood by everyone. This kind of strength doesn't get applause, but it brings peace. It builds character, and it protects your mind from chaos. A simple practice, the not worth it. Test before engaging in any argument or emotional battle. Try this. Ask yourself 3 questions. Is this situation actually important, or is my ego just bruised? Will this matter in the long run? Can I choose to walk away and still feel proud of who I am? If you answer no, no, and yes, let it go. It's not worth it. Give yourself permission to not attend every fight you're invited to. Stories of silent power. Think of people who embody quiet strength. Leaders, mentors, elders, even spiritual teachers. They don't fight for attention. They don't argue to be heard. They simply are. Their presence speaks louder than their words. Their silence carries more weight than shouting ever could. You can become one of those people. Start by mastering the art of not needing to win. Then, in closing, the real win. Here's the truth. Winning an argument may feed your ego for a moment, but choosing peace feeds your soul for a lifetime. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care more about your inner world than someone else's opinion. Every time you choose silence over shouting, presence over pride, and understanding over being right, you win, not the argument, but yourself, and that's the most important victory of all. Chapter 8. The Power of Silence. In a world addicted to noise, constant chatter, breaking news, viral opinions, and digital pings, silence has become a rare luxury. But within that silence lies something extraordinary. Power, clarity, presence, healing. Silence is not the absence of sound, it's the presence of self. It's not about saying nothing. It's about choosing when, why, and if something needs to be said at all. This chapter is an invitation to embrace silence, not as a void, but as a vital tool for emotional strength, mental clarity, and inner peace. Why silence is so powerful. Silence isn't passive. It's deeply active. It listens. It observes. It absorbs. It teaches. Here's why silence is more powerful than we give it credit for. It calms the nervous system. In moments of silence, the brain slows down. Heart rate drops. The body relaxes. It makes space for reflection. Without noise, your thoughts can settle. You can finally hear what your emotions are saying. It creates room for clarity. The right answer often emerges in the pause, not in the reaction. It empowers communication. Silence makes your words more intentional. It makes others listen more closely when you do speak. In silence, we access our highest intelligence. Not emotional reactivity, but calm discernment. Silence. As a form of strength, many mistake silence for weakness. They believe if you don't speak up, you're being walked over. But the truth is, silence is strength under control. Think of these moments. Someone insults you, and you respond with a calm smile. A heated discussion flares up, and you choose to stay centered. You're tempted to post a reactive comment, but you decide not to. That is silent power in action. It's the strength of restraint, the wisdom of timing, the calm in the storm. You don't need to match every energy. You don't need to fill every gap with your voice. Sometimes the most commanding presence in a room is the one who listens. The healing space of silence. Emotional wounds don't heal through endless talking. They heal through stillness. Silence allows your emotions to rise without judgment, gives you room to breathe through discomfort, helps you reconnect with yourself beyond your thoughts when you're always speaking, always reacting, always filling the space. You miss the gentle whisper of your inner truth. Silence is where healing begins. It's where pain is seen, not suppressed. It's where insight gently surfaces like ripples on still water. Silence and emotional mastery. When you cultivate silence as a habit, you master your emotions by default. Why? Because you learn to pause before reacting. You stop fueling drama with unnecessary words. You become the observer, not the reactor. And in that space between stimulus and response, you regain your power. Silence teaches you that not everything requires a response. Not every question needs an answer. Not every insult needs a comeback. Not every moment needs a comment. You start choosing your words the way an artist chooses brushstrokes. carefully, thoughtfully, with intention. Practicing the power of silence in daily life. Silence isn't just for monks and meditation rooms. It belongs in your everyday moments. Here's how to bring silence into your daily life. Begin your day in quiet. Start each morning with just 5 minutes of complete silence. No phone, no noise, just your breath and your presence. It sets the tone for a calm, grounded day. Listen more than you speak in conversations. Focus on truly listening, not just waiting for your turn to talk. Let your silence be a mirror that makes others feel heard. Pause before you reply. Before you send that message, speak that word, or post that comment. Pause. Breathe. Ask, does this serve peace or just my pride? 4. Create micro-silent moments. While walking, commuting, or sipping tea, go quiet. No background noise. Just be. These small silences have a big effect on your clarity and energy, transforming conflict with silence. Nothing diffuses tension faster than refusing to fuel it. When others are loud, aggressive, or reactive, your silence interrupts the energy, sets a boundary without confrontation, protects your peace. This doesn't mean you avoid every conversation. It means you speak from stillness, not from a storm. Imagine someone yelling at you, and instead of yelling back, you calmly pause, look them in the eye, and simply say, I hear you. I'll respond when I've had a moment to think. That's power. That's maturity. That's emotional control. The deepest answers arise in silence. We often look outward for answers, thinking someone else has the insight we need. But your deepest wisdom lives inside of you, and silence is the key that unlocks it. In silence, you remember who you are beneath your roles and titles, what you truly feel beneath the surface reactions, what you really need, not what your ego demands. The voice of your soul doesn't shout, it whispers, and you can only hear it when you're quiet enough to listen. Let silence speak for you. There are times when silence says more than words ever could. Moments when a deep breath replaces a harsh reply. A nod carries more respect than a monologue. A quiet departure speaks volumes. Let silence speak for you when words could cause harm. Let silence hold space when emotions are raw. Let silence become your trusted companion in moments of uncertainty. You don't always need to explain, defend, or justify. Sometimes your stillness is your statement. Silence and presence. The ultimate duo. Silence isn't just about not speaking, it's about being fully present. When you embrace silence, you step into now. You're no longer living in replays of the past or projections of the future. You're here, fully, calmly, powerfully. That presence is magnetic. People feel it. And it begins when you stop racing to respond and start listening to the moment. In closing, reclaiming your inner quiet, the power of silence is not in what it hides, but in what it reveals. It reveals your strength, your wisdom, your peace, your self-control. In a noisy world that demands instant reactions, silence is your revolution. A quiet, steady reclaiming of your power, a sacred pause that restores your center. So embrace silence, not as an escape, but as a strategy, not as avoidance, but as alignment, not as weakness, but as your greatest strength. Because when you no longer fear silence, you no longer fear yourself. Chapter 9. Responding with intention. Imagine this. You're in a situation that could easily push your buttons. A cutting comment, a rushed demand, an unexpected disappointment. Now imagine this. Instead of snapping back, shutting down, or spiraling, you breathe, you pause, and then you respond. Not from emotion, but from intention. That is power. Not the power to dominate others, but the power to direct yourself. This chapter is about mastering that quiet, steady strength. It's about becoming the kind of person who doesn't just react to life, but consciously responds, with clarity, purpose, and inner wisdom. The difference between reacting and responding to live with intention, we must first understand the key difference between two very similar behaviors, reacting and responding. Reacting is instant. It's impulsive, emotional, and often defensive. It's what happens when we're triggered and uncentered. Responding is conscious. It's thoughtful, calm, and deliberate. It's the act of choosing your next step instead of being dragged into it. Reacting is driven by your past wounds. Responding is guided by your present awareness. When you react, you surrender your power. When you respond with intention, you reclaim it too. The mindful space. Between every stimulus and response, there's a sacred space, a brief moment of silence, a pause, a breath. That space is where your power lives. That's where your choice is born. The key to emotional mastery is to expand that space, to stretch it just long enough to ask, what outcome do I want? Is this aligned with who I am? Will this bring peace or regret? In that space, your awareness awakens, and you become the creator of your response, not a prisoner of your reactions. Responding with purpose. Not pride. So often, we respond from the ego, not the soul. We aim to win, prove, impress, or defend. But true intention is not about ego. It's about essence. It's not about how you look, it's about how you live. When responding with intention, ask yourself, does this reflect the kind of person I want to be? Will this add value or create noise? Am I reacting from a wound or responding from wisdom? Let your intention be rooted in peace, integrity, and self-respect, not the need to win or be right. Practical tools for intentional response. Let's ground this wisdom with practical steps. Here are 4 tools you can use to shift from reactive to intentional. 1. The breath check-in before replying to any emotional trigger. Pause and take 3 slow, deep breaths. Let the tension move through your body. Let your nervous system reset. Breath creates space, and space gives you choice. The 10-second rule. If your emotions are hot, wait 10 seconds before you speak or respond. Even better, step away if you buy. Can those few seconds may save a relationship, a reputation, or your peace of mind. Ask, what would the highest version of me do? This simple question invites your best self into the room. It takes you out of survival mode and into soul alignment. It's not about perfection, it's about direction. Replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of reacting with blame or assumption, ask, what might they be going through? Why? Is this affecting me so deeply? Is there more to this than I realize? Curiosity disarms defensiveness and brings compassion into the equation. Responding doesn't always mean speaking. Intentional response doesn't always involve words. Sometimes, the best response is a deep breath, a thoughtful pause, a silent nod, a graceful exit. You don't owe everyone an answer, explanation, or rebuttal. Sometimes your energy is too valuable for the argument. Your peace is too sacred for the drama. Responding with intention includes the powerful ability to say nothing and still say everything. Choosing response over reaction in tough situations, life won't always be gentle. There will be moments of pain, frustration, and injustice. And in those moments, reacting may feel justified, but responding with intention doesn't mean denying your truth. It means delivering your truth with clarity, not chaos. It means expressing, not exploding. Here's how to practice intentional response in high emotion moments. In conflict, speak calmly, stick to facts, avoid blame. Use I statements instead of you always. When criticized, listen fully, reflect before replying. Ask yourself, is there truth in this or is this a projection? When disappointed, acknowledge your feelings, then ask, what's the most constructive next step? Intention doesn't mute emotion, it guides it. The long-term power of intentional responses. Responding with intention is not just about one conversation. It's about the life you build through the sum of your responses. Think about it. Your relationships are shaped by how you respond when you're hurt. Your reputation is built on how you respond when you're challenged. Your peace is protected by how you respond when you're provoked. Every intentional response is a brick in the foundation of a more centered, aligned life. The legacy of your you. Responses: people may forget what you said. They may even forget what you did, but they will remember how they felt in your presence. And how they feel will often depend on how you responded, especially in difficult moments. Let your responses leave behind a trail of grace, not grudges, wisdom, not wounds, peace, not proof, because when you respond with intention, you're not just influencing the moment, you're influencing your future. In closing, you are the author of your reactions. Here's the truth: you cannot control what others say or do, but you always control how you respond. Your responses are not reactions to the world. They are reflections of the world within you. So slow down, breathe deep, listen well, speak less, but speak from the center of your soul. And remember, every time you choose to respond with intention, you write a more powerful, peaceful story for your life. Chapter 10. Daily Practices to Build Emotional Strength. Emotional strength is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you build. It doesn't grow in times of comfort. It's forged in quiet moments of choice, in your daily decisions, in how you breathe, think, speak, and show up for yourself. This chapter is your emotional gym, a space to strengthen the muscles of patience, resilience, and calm clarity. Each of the following daily practices is a small commitment with a big return. Let them guide you. Let them ground you. Morning check-in. Begin with awareness. Every day, before you open your phone or step into the world, take 2 quiet minutes. Sit, breathe. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What emotions are sitting beneath the surface? What intention do I want to carry today? This check-in is not about fixing anything. It's about noticing, about naming your state. Because once you name it, you're no longer controlled by it. You're aware of it. And awareness is your first superpower. Tip: use a journal to write just 1 line about your emotional state and 1 intention for the day. Over time, you'll see your growth in the pages. The 90-second rule. Ride the emotional wave. Neuroscience tells us that the chemical reaction of an emotion in the brain typically lasts 90 seconds. If you simply pause, breathe, and allow the emotion to move through you without feeding it, it often fades on its own. The key is not attaching stories to it. When you feel a surge of anger, anxiety, or frustration, say to yourself, "This is just a wave. I'll let it pass. I don't have to act on it." Let the wave roll in. Observe it. Don't become it. With practice, you'll stop being pulled under and start floating above. Mental rehearsal. Prepare for peace before stepping into situations that might test your patience. A tough meeting, a traffic jam, a family dinner. Mentally rehearse how you want to respond. Close your eyes and visualize yourself. Staying calm when others are tense. Breathing through discomfort. Speaking with clarity instead of reacting with emotion. Mental rehearsal builds a neural blueprint. It trains your brain to act with intention when real pressure comes. The more you visualize peace, the more natural it becomes. Emotional labeling. Name it to tame it. When emotions rise, put language to them. Say out loud, or in your mind, "I'm feeling overwhelmed. This is sadness. I'm noticing frustration." This simple act activates the prefrontal cortex, your reasoning brain, and quiets the emotional brain. You move from chaos to clarity. Remember, naming the emotion doesn't make it stronger, it makes you stronger. Movement to shift. The mood emotion lives in the body. If it stays stuck, it becomes stress, fatigue, or even illness. That's why movement is emotional medicine. Each day, give your body a way to move energy. A brisk walk, stretching or yoga dance to your favorite song. Even 10 jumping jacks when you feel tension rise. You don't need an hour-long workout. Just a few minutes of mindful movement can transform your emotional landscape. The power pause. Practice the art of stopping throughout your day. Insert intentional pauses before answering a question, before sending that text, before saying yes when your soul whispers no. Even just 3 seconds of silence can be enough to reset your nervous system and choose a better response. Make the pause your new reflex. It's not weakness, it's wisdom. Daily, release and reset journaling. Every evening, create space to empty your emotional backpack. Write down, what challenged you today? How did you respond? What are you proud of? What do you want to do differently tomorrow? Let your journal be a safe container. A private mirror where you reflect, learn, and grow. Over time, you'll spot patterns. You'll see your wins. And you'll release what no longer belongs. This simple practice builds emotional clarity and self-compassion, 2 cornerstones of emotional strength. Strengthen your inner voice. The way you speak to yourself becomes the way you experience life. Every day, affirm your emotional power with gentle statements like, I can handle difficult emotions with grace. I don't need to control everything to feel peace. I pause, I reflect. I choose with wisdom. Repeat them often. Speak them out loud. Let them shape your inner world. A strong inner voice doesn't shout. It soothes. Limit emotional pollution. What you consume affects how you feel. If you want to build emotional strength, curate your environment. Each day, limit your exposure to sensationalist news, negative social media, energy-draining conversations. Instead, nourish your mind with uplifting books or podcasts. Time in. Nature conversations with emotionally intelligent people. Emotional strength is easier to build in a clean, positive space. Practice forgiveness, daily every day. Release one grudge, big or small. Let go of one moment that didn't go your way, not for them, for you. Say, I release this. I choose peace over poison. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It means freeing yourself from the weight of carrying what no longer serves you. This lightness is a hallmark of true emotional strength. Micro-meditations for micro-moments. You don't need an hour of stillness. Even 1 mindful minute makes a difference. Try these during the day. 60 seconds of focused breathing before a call. 30 seconds of silence in the car. A quick body scan before bed. Use these pauses to reconnect with yourself. Because emotional strength isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in micro moments of presence. 2. Celebrate your progress. Lastly, give yourself credit. Emotional strength is invisible to others but monumental to you. Each time you pause instead of react. Each time you express instead of explode. Each time you choose peace over pride. That is victory. Acknowledge it. Celebrate it. Build on it. In closing, emotional strength is a daily choice. You don't need to master every emotion overnight. You simply need to show up for yourself consistently, gently, honestly. These practices are not chores. They are invitations to become the calm in your own storm, to meet life with steadiness, to rise above reaction and live in quiet strength. Each day be a step toward that version of you. The emotionally grounded, the calmly aware, the powerfully intentional. Chapter 11. Boundaries, not barriers. Imagine a life where you don't feel drained after every conversation, where your time is respected, where your peace is protected, not by conflict, but by clarity. This is the quiet power of boundaries. Boundaries are not walls that keep people out. They are bridges that teach people how to walk with you. And in the journey of emotional control, they are essential. Because without boundaries, your emotional strength leaks. Your peace becomes vulnerable. Your identity becomes negotiable. Let's explore what boundaries truly are and how they can transform your emotional world without turning your heart cold. What are boundaries really? Boundaries are not about control. They're about clarity. They're the invisible lines that define what is okay and what is not okay, what you allow into your space, mentally, emotionally, physically, how you treat yourself, and how others must treat you. Think of them as emotional fences with gates. You decide what enters and what stays out, not out of fear, but out of self-respect. They say, "This is where I end, and you begin. This is how I honor myself while still honoring you." Barriers versus boundaries. A key difference. There's a subtle but powerful difference between a boundary and a barrier. A barrier pushes people away. It's built from fear, resentment, or past pain. It says, "I don't trust anyone." A boundary invites healthy connection. It's built from love and self-worth. It says, "I trust myself to communicate clearly." Barriers isolate. Boundaries liberate. You don't need to cut people off to protect your peace. You just need to stop sacrificing your well-being for comfort or approval. Why boundaries? Strengthen emotional control. When you lack boundaries, you say yes when you mean no. You absorb other people's emotions as your own. You overextend, then explode from hidden resentment. You live in a constant loop of guilt and burnout. But when you have clear boundaries, you respond instead of react. You communicate without guilt. You remain calm in the presence of pressure. You create a life aligned with your values, not others' expectations. In short, boundaries give you room to breathe and space to choose your emotional response instead of being dragged into drama. Types of boundaries you need. Let's break boundaries down into 4 essential categories. You'll see where you may need to build or reinforce your lines. Emotional boundaries. These protect your feelings and inner world. They sound like, "I'm not available for gossip or venting today. I'm not okay being yelled at even when you're upset. I don't take responsibility for how you feel about my choices." These boundaries allow you to stay emotionally steady, even when others aren't. Time boundaries. These protect your schedule, energy, and rest. They sound like, "Today I can't commit to that right now. I stop working after 6 p.m. to rest. I'll get back to you tomorrow. I'm offline tonight." These boundaries teach others and yourself that your time is valuable. Physical boundaries. These protect your body and physical space. They sound like, "I need some space right now. Please don't touch me without asking. I'm not comfortable hugging. Can we shake hands instead?" These boundaries help you feel safe and in control of your environment. Mental boundaries. These protect your thoughts, beliefs, and personal truth. They sound like, "I respect your opinion, but I see things differently. Let's agree to disagree on this. I don't want to debate this right now." They allow you to stay grounded in your own truth without needing to convince or be convinced. Setting boundaries. Without guilt. One of the biggest hurdles in boundary setting is guilt. You worry, will they think I'm selfish? Will they get angry? Will I hurt their feelings? But here's the truth. You are not responsible for how others respond to your boundary. You are only responsible for communicating it with clarity and kindness. Boundaries are not rejections. They are acts of self-leadership. You are saying, "I matter too. My peace matters too. And I can express that without shame." The people who truly care will adjust. The people who don't respect your boundary were benefiting from your lack of one. How to set a boundary without conflict. Get clear first. Ask yourself, what is bothering me? What do I need to feel safe or respected? What will I no longer tolerate? Use calm, clear language. Keep it simple, like, "I need," "I prefer," "That doesn't work for me," "Next time, I'd appreciate." Hold the line. Setting a boundary is only the first step. Maintaining it is where the real strength lies. Expect some pushback, that's normal, stand firm. You are retraining the world on how to treat you and how you treat yourself. When boundaries are tested, sometimes people will ignore or resist your boundaries. Stay calm, reaffirm your stance. You might say, "I've already communicated my boundary. I won't explain it again. This isn't up for debate. If that continues, I'll need to step away. You don't need to defend your boundary like a courtroom argument. Let your consistency speak louder than your words. Boundaries and compassion can coexist. Many people think setting boundaries means being cold or selfish. But in truth, the most compassionate people have the clearest boundaries. Because they know you can say no and still be kind. You can care deeply and still protect your energy. You can love someone and still limit their access boundaries. Allow you to show up with presence and peace, because you're not running on resentment or exhaustion. Practice. Start small, start where the discomfort is smallest. Set one clear boundary this week. Maybe you say no to a request that overwhelms you. Ask a coworker to stop messaging after hours. Choose not to answer a draining phone call. One small act of self-respect builds emotional courage. Over time, you'll become more confident, more grounded, more calm in your no, and more sincere in your yes. In closing, boundaries. Create freedom. Boundaries are not limitations. They are liberations. They create space for peace, for presence, for power. And when you set them with love, you don't push people away. You invite the right ones closer on healthy, respectful terms. So remember this. A boundary is not a wall. It's a door with a lock that you control. Knock gently on your own door. Let yourself in. This is your space. You deserve to feel safe in it. Chapter 12. Becoming the calmest person in the room. Imagine walking into a room filled with tension. Conversations are sharp, emotions run high, and stress buzzes in the air. Yet you feel rooted, unshaken. Your breathing is slow. Your heart is steady. You are not absorbing the chaos. You're anchoring the peace. That is the quiet power of becoming the calmest person in the room. This chapter isn't about faking calm. It's about embodying it, making serenity your strength. Because when you master this, everything changes. People begin to mirror your energy. Conversations become more thoughtful. Conflicts dissolve quicker, and most importantly, you stop being emotionally hijacked by the world around you. Let's unpack the inner traits, practices, and mindsets that help you become this unshakable presence. Why calm is more powerful than control. Most people chase control, trying to manage others, circumstances, and outcomes. But real power doesn't come from control. It comes from calm. Control is external. Calm is internal. Calm allows you to think clearly under pressure, make decisions without panic, de-escalate tension, lead without raising your voice, influence without force. People naturally follow calm energy. It signals confidence, trust, and security. In a world full of noise, the calmest person becomes the leader, without ever needing to say it. What calm looks like in practice, calm isn't passive. It's deeply active. It's not the absence of emotion. It's the management of it. It's not detachment. It's intentional presence. Here's what calm sounds like. Let me take a breath before I respond. I hear you. Let's find a solution together. This is uncomfortable, but I'm still grounded. I'll take time to reflect and get back to you. And here's what it looks like. Pausing before reacting. Maintaining soft, steady eye contact, relaxed body language, measured speech, and deep breaths. Choosing silence over escalation. These small choices create an aura of composure, one that others feel and follow. Becoming the eye in the storm. Think of yourself as the eye of a hurricane. The storm may rage around you, but your center remains still. This doesn't mean life stops being messy. It means you stop being swept away. To become this calm center, you need three things. Emotional regulation, the ability to feel without exploding, mental spaciousness, the ability to pause and think, physical grounding, the ability to stay connected to your body. Let's look at how to cultivate each of these. Emotional regulation. Feeling without flooding, calm starts with your nervous system. If your body is in fight or flight, No amount of thinking can bring you peace. So the first step is calming your body so your mind can follow. Try this. Box breathing. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4, hold for 4 progressive muscle relaxation. Tense and release your body from head to toe. Cold water splash. Shocking your face with cold water resets your vagus nerve. Physical stillness. Just sitting still for 60 seconds can shift your state. These practices train your body to stay anchored, even when emotions rise. Mental spaciousness. Creating inner room before you. React calm is a mental habit. You create it by giving yourself space before you respond. Ask yourself, do I need to react now? What's the most helpful way I could respond? Is this about me or their projection? What emotion is driving me right now? Questions like these snap you out of autopilot. They return you to the driver's seat of your response. And over time, they rewire your brain to seek clarity before reaction. Physical grounding. The power of being in your body. Calm doesn't live in your head, it lives in your body. When you feel activated, practice these grounding techniques. Feel your feet on the floor. Name 3 things you see, 2 you hear, and 1 you feel. Stand tall, shoulders relaxed, breathe into your belly. Place your hand on your chest and say, I am safe. These anchor you in the present moment, where peace actually lives. You stop reliving the past or rehearsing future arguments. You come back home to now, and now is always manageable. Mastering calm in social settings. Whether you're in a tense meeting, a family argument, or a difficult negotiation, calm is your advantage. Here's how to practice it socially. Don't match their energy. Stay at your baseline no matter how loud they get. Use silence as power. Pauses are more powerful than interruptions. Speak slowly. It makes you sound confident and makes others slow down too. Empathize without absorbing. I see that you're upset is not the same as I'll carry your pain. When you do this, something magical happens. You disarm tension without force. You lead the emotional tone without raising your voice. The inner beliefs of calm people. Behind every calm person is a different belief system. They don't see the world as something to defend against. They see it as something to navigate with. Presence. Here are the quiet mantras calm people live by. I don't need to attend every argument I'm invited to. Their chaos is not my responsibility. My peace is not up for negotiation. Silence is my strength, not my weakness. I control my response even if I don't control the situation. You don't just act calm, you become calm because you trust yourself to handle anything with grace. Daily practices to build unshakable calm. Here are some small habits that build deep calm over time. Morning stillness. Begin your day in silence or with a few deep breaths. Digital boundaries. Don't check your phone the moment you wake up. Daily journaling. Reflect on what made you feel reactive and how you handled it. 1 slow conversation a day. Practice listening more than speaking nature time, even 10 minutes. Outdoors reconnects you to the rhythms of calm. Calm is a practice, not a personality trait, not a lucky temperament, a daily decision. In closing, calm is a superpower in a loud, reactive, hyperactive world. Calm is rare, which makes it powerful. To be calm is to be centered. To be calm is to be aware. To be calm is to be free from the emotional roller coasters of others. So let this be your new aim. Not to win arguments, not to always be right, not to control everything, but simply to be the calmest person in the room. Because in calm, you find your strength. In calm, you become unshakable. And in calm, you become the one others look to, not for noise, but for peace. Conclusion, your calm is your power. Take a deep breath. Let this moment settle. Feel the stillness inside you, the space between the noise, the silence beneath your thoughts. That space is where your power lives. It has always been there, waiting, patient. unmoved. We began this journey with one simple truth. You don't have to react to everything. You can pause, you can reflect, you can choose, and in that choice that lies your strength. Let's be honest. Life won't stop challenging you. There will still be traffic, deadlines, arguments, heartbreaks, misunderstandings, and moments where your emotions rise like a tidal wave. But now you have a new awareness. You don't have to ride that wave. You can stand in your calm, like a lighthouse in the storm, shining, steady, and secure. Because calm isn't weakness. Calm is clarity. Calm is control. Calm is command over yourself no matter what the world throws at you. You are not powerless, you are powerful beyond measure. It's easy to believe that other people make you angry or ruin your day. But here's the truth. They don't. Your response is yours. Always has been. Always will be. When you recognize this, deeply, not just mentally, you stop giving your power away to everyone and everything. You stop being a puppet pulled by invisible strings. You become the one holding the strings. That is freedom. You are now the observer, not the reactor. Remember, the world doesn't need more people who speak the loudest or react the fastest. It needs more people who feel deeply, but act intentionally. When you observe your emotions without being swept away by them, you gain the kind of inner stability that can't be faked. You respond, not from ego, not from pain, not from panic, but from wisdom. You become the person others turn to, not for drama, but for direction, not for fire, but for still water. You are now the space between the stimulus and the responses. Viktor Frankl once said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." You've now learned how to find that space, to stretch it, to trust it, to live in it. And each time you return to it, you become more powerful, not over others, but over yourself. And that is the highest form of mastery. You are not cold. You are centered. Let no one mistake your calm for apathy. You still care, deeply. You still feel, fully. But now, you choose how to channel that emotion, where to place your energy, and what deserves your peace. You don't yell to be heard. You don't over-explain to be understood. You don't fight every battle to prove your worth. You know who you are. You know what matters. You know when to speak, and when to simply smile and walk away. That's not being passive. That's being powerful. This is only the beginning. This book may end here, but your journey does not, because every day brings new opportunities to practice your calm. When someone cuts you off in traffic, when a coworker speaks harshly, when a loved one presses your buttons, when life throws unexpected chaos your way, pause, breathe, choose. Let your response come from your center, not your storm. Every moment is a choice. Every breath is a return. Every silence is a reclaiming. And with time, you won't just be calm in moments. You'll become calm as a way of life. You are now a beacon of calm in a chaotic world. People will notice something different about you. They'll say, "You seem so grounded. You don't let things get to you. You always know what to say or when to say nothing at all." And you'll smile, not out of pride, but peace, because you've done the inner work. You've learned to lead with presence, not panic. You've chosen wisdom over impulse, patience over power plays, and reflection over reaction. You are now the calmest person in the room, not because you shout over the noise, but because you no longer need to. In the end, your calm is your power, so hold it close. Protect it fiercely, live it fully. Let your calm lead your thoughts. Let it shape your words. Let it guide your steps. Because in a reactive world, the person who can stay calm isn't just peaceful, they are unbreakable, and that person now is you.